I, 24 female, asked my boyfriend, 41 male, his thoughts on an open relationship, and he broke up with me. How can I fix this? Original post. First off, let me start by saying that our age gap is not the issue here. My boyfriend is the best thing to happen to me in my adult life because of his age, not despite it. Over the 2 years we've been together, I've grown so much as a person thanks in part to his gentle love and overwhelming support. None of my friends in long-term relationships have anything like what my boyfriend and I have, and they all say they wish they did. Also, he's more attractive and in better shape than all of their boyfriends, so if your first reaction to this situation is that some dirty old man is taking advantage of a young, naive girl, then you're wrong. And for the record, I was the one that asked him out first. I'm sorry if that comes across as defensive, but that seems to be the first reaction to our relationship by anyone who doesn't know us. We are both nurses. He is an administrative supervisor at my company. He trained me my first 2 weeks on the job, and we hit it off because we both love to work out and have a lot of things in common. Nothing happened then, but I just couldn't stop thinking about him. So after about a month, I stopped by his office after work and asked him out for coffee. 6 months later, I moved in with him. That first year was the best time I've ever had in a relationship. We traveled, ate out, went to shows and movies. He taught me so much about life. He would really engage with me and listen to what I had to say. He also wasn't afraid to ask me those really tough questions that made me look at situations from another perspective. He taught me how to stand up for myself in conflict resolution. The more time we spent together, the more I love him. Then the lockdown happened. My boyfriend is not perfect. One major problem is he is a micromanager when it comes to work and a workaholic. As soon as the lockdown started, he started working nonstop. Sometimes he would work 14 to 16 hours a day. From the end of April to the second week in June, he worked 36 days straight. He would come home, kiss me, work out, shower, and go to bed, just to get up the next morning and do it all over again. No one asks him to work like that, he just does. He says I have to be an advocate for our patients and to make sure they're safe and taken care of. I won't lie, I got really lonely during this time. I talked to him about it and he cut back some. He even started doing some silly things like ordering cheesy decorations online, then decorating our dining room like a Chinese restaurant, and ordering takeout from our favorite Chinese place so it would feel like we went out. It was fun and nice, but I was still lonely. Around this time, an old friend from high school contacted me through Facebook. We started talking first on IM, then he started texting. He was really there for me and showed me a lot of attention. After a while, he asked if I wanted to meet up for drinks. Outdoor bars were open here. I said yes, since my boyfriend wasn't home. I ended up drinking more than I usually do. Before I knew it, we were kissing. I'm not going to lie, it felt really good. I did allow it to go too far, but I stopped it before we had sex. I left and went home. I felt awful, not because I did it, but because I did it behind my boyfriend's back. The next day, I asked my boyfriend if we could talk. I started out by telling him how lonely I felt the past few months and how I wanted to ask his thoughts on an open relationship. He was actually really receptive. He sat down with me and asked several questions about our relationship and how strong did I think it was. He listened as I explained that I loved him but needed attention that he can't provide right now. I wanted him, but I didn't feel like my needs were being met, and this would be an easy and safe way for me to get the attention that I've been missing. He asked what brought this on, and I explained about my friend and how I wasn't interested in a relationship with him, but I would like to go out with him just for some distraction from everything going on. He sat there for several minutes, and that's when I saw the hurt in his eyes. It wasn't until that moment I realized how selfish that I had been. It was like someone poured ice water over me. I had not once thought about him in this entire situation. But before I could say a word, he said, "You need to leave." I tried to talk more, but he just said that he was not in a place emotionally to communicate with me effectively, and that I needed to give him some space. I just broke down and started crying. I had messed it all up and hadn't even realized it until that moment. He left after that and asked me to leave before he got back. About 2 hours later, I got a text from him saying that we need some time apart, and he didn't feel like we needed to be in a relationship right now. That was 2 days ago. I'm at my parents' house now, and I can't eat or sleep. I'm a wreck. I know I'm a dumbass and a horrible person, but please, if you have any advice on how to fix this, please help. I am literally making myself sick over this, and I have no clue what to even say to him. Now for the comments before reading the update. I felt awful, not because I did it, but because I did it behind my boyfriend's back. What the fuck, OP? Please, if you have any advice on how to fix this, please help. You can't fix this. You cheated. You did one of the most crappiest things to someone who loved you and didn't even feel bad about it. You wanted an open relationship so that you can fuck your old friend. You didn't even consider your boyfriend. How selfish can you be? OP, use this time to grow, to figure out what you want, to figure out how to change and be a better person and find someone who can give you what you need out of a relationship. But don't cheat again, because that was a wrong of you to do. You can't fix this. You messed up. He's gone. You need to leave him alone and move on. It was selfish. You were 100% right about that, but I swear I didn't realize it. I was so caught up in my own feelings that I lost all sense of empathy. He still talks to me though. He answers my questions I ask. Is that not at least a small sign that our relationship can be fixed? This actually is related to the age difference, not for the difference in years, but for the difference in maturity level. You had a wonderful relationship with an equally wonderful man, but you were not able to be an adult when things got tough, so you cheated because he didn't give you enough attention? That's the stupidest excuse for cheating I've ever heard. Basically, as long as things are going your way, you were happy. But as soon as things got a little tough, you cheated. He was working, not out partying with his friends or sitting on a computer playing games all day, ignoring you. Working during the pandemic is to provide you stability in a warm, loving home. And instead of acting like an adult in a mature, loving relationship and supporting him, you cheated. And not only that, you state, I felt awful, not because I did it, but because I did it behind my boyfriend's back. Your guilt should lie in the fact that you even considered it, then followed through with it. You're too immature and self-centered to even understand the real problem. Yeah, you screwed up majorly, and you are an immature idiot. He deserves better than you. Learn from this, try to really look at this and figure out why you're so self-centered, and to understand exactly what it means to commit yourself to one person, one relationship. But for goodness sakes, leave him alone. He's seen you for what and who you actually are. Move on. This is actually very helpful, and you are right. I need to figure out what allowed me to block any consideration for my boyfriend out of my mind, and when it came to talking to my friend. I thought that there was nothing wrong with my actions. I didn't even see it as cheating. I have really messed up here. He needs time, and you need to acknowledge that sometimes mistakes are not fixable. Maybe you'll end up being together again, but you've potentially damaged his trust in you forever and anyone else he dates. It feels like you may not have too many close friends based on this post. I would highly recommend you form deeper friendships with people who you can talk about this with, people that would have given you advice against cheating, and with them, perhaps you would be less lonely in general. Now for the update. It's been over a week and some people asked for an update, so here goes. He called last Tuesday and said he wanted to talk. I was both scared and over the moon because I took the advice so many people here gave me to give him more space. We haven't talked since the Saturday before, and I missed him like mad. He says he wants to meet at my parents' house, and I agreed, although I thought that was a little weird. When he pulled into the driveway, he sent me a text asking me to come outside. I went out to meet him, and he was standing in front of his car. I immediately saw that he had someone in the car with him, and I just broke down. I knew what was coming, and I didn't want to face it. He was so kind. He comforted me and helped me onto the porch, where we both sat on the steps. I can't quote what was said, so this is paraphrased. He loved me, but my actions proved to him that we are in two different places in our lives, and he wasn't going to hold me back anymore. He said he knew I needed to live more and enjoy life before settling down. He apologized for holding me back for so long and thanked me for his best 2 years since his wife had passed away. I wanted to lay down on the ground and die right there. I just sobbed. It's all I could do. My dad finally came out and helped me back into the house. My dad then went back out and talked to my boyfriend. They talked for a while. I don't really remember how long because I was near hysterical at that point. My mom gave me something to help me relax. When my father came back in, he whispered something to my mom, and she helped me upstairs to my room. I laid there for a while until I heard someone pull into the driveway. I looked out and saw that a moving truck had backed in. He had all my belongings at our place packed up and delivered to my parents' house. That's when I really lost all control of myself. I was crying so hard I didn't feel like I was in control of my own body anymore. My mom ended up sleeping in my room with me all night. In the past 3 days, I've been out of my bed probably less than 10 times. I'm lost, and worse than that, I lost him. But I was finally able to eat today, so I figured I would give you all a look at the end of my world. So yes, Reddit, you were right and he left me. You're right that I'm a horrible person and I deserve this, but it still hurts really bad. Story 2. Update. Am I the a-hole for ruining my brother and his wife's pregnancy news with the news of my recent diagnosis? Original post. Bit of a backstory. My brother and I are very close. His wife and I not so much. We've had our fair share of tension. Anyway, I fell sick in the middle of May, but held off getting checked out because of COVID and safety reasons. Eventually, when June started, I decided to go back and check it out. Turns out it was stage 2 breast cancer. I decided to tell my family 2 days ago since lockdown laws had been lifted, so I invited everyone over, and when I told my brother and his wife, he said okay, that's fine because he has news to share too. So our family gathered and my brother decided to go first. He did ask me, and he announced that his wife is 4 months pregnant. Of course, everyone was overjoyed. After about an hour, they asked about my news, and I knew this was probably the last time in a long while before I had everyone here in person, so I told them. And of course, the initial joyous atmosphere was gone. The rest of the evening was a lot of support for me and not a lot of attention on my brother and his wife. My brother didn't seem to mind this as he was quite distraught with my news, but I saw his wife pretty upset and cornered off. So I decided to approach her and I apologized for the timing of it all. She told me that I could have waited a bit and Skyped everyone with the news, as it's just stage 2, and let my brother and her have this moment with their family. I told her I initially called this meeting for the exact reason, and she said that she knows, but I knew that my news would dampen everyone's mood. So I told her she's being ridiculous and I wanted to tell my family in person, since they are my family after all. And she burst into tears and demanded to go home, which my brother obliged to even though he was confused. He promised he would come and see me soon, since he stays close by to me. Later that evening, I get a message from him asking if I told his wife that she isn't part of the family and that I deliberately wanted the attention on me because that's what she's upset about. Also, the next day, my parents called me to check up on me and my mom mentioned that my brother's wife called yesterday evening really upset, telling them what I said and claiming if I'm jealous because she's pregnant and I'm trying to ruin her life. I told my parents what actually happened and what I really said, and it caused not only tension between his wife and me, but my parents and her too. And now she's also blaming me for my parents not being her biggest fans. My brother is torn but has been trying to talk to her, which results in more tears and a strain in their marriage. All this drama is making me think that I should have just called up everyone rather, or just told my brother that his news had to wait, even though that would have been selfish of me. I really wanted my family's support that day, but I'm starting to rethink whether it was worth all this drama and potentially causing further problems. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Edit 1. Wow, I didn't expect to get so much lovely feedback and to think I was slightly scared to post this. Thank you all for the unnerving support, love, and huggies. I read, and still am reading, every single comment made, and I really appreciate it. I will most definitely fight through. Thank you all so much. Just wanted to add a few points. When my brother told me he had news too, he was really super excited and added it was just by the way I'll announce mine too. He did apologize and admit afterwards if he had known what my news was, he would have held off his, because right now what's more important is my recovery. He also admitted he wrongfully assumed that my news would automatically be good. I'm usually always the happy, chirpy one. His wife wasn't too fond of this either. Brother's wife also had a miscarriage beginning of the year, which is why this pregnancy, I suppose, was extra special. I'm truly happy for them. I just wish she could understand, like one user pointed out, that this isn't a competition. I don't know why I couldn't tell him over the phone. We are really close and I knew it would have crushed him. I couldn't steal him away from the gathering either because he was the last to arrive. And when he did, he just quickly mentioned, "Hey, OP, mind if I go first?" And I was frozen on the spot, so I said sure. Also pretty silly on my part, it's hard to explain that feeling where you absolutely are frozen and there's a big lump in your throat that prevents you from speaking. But saying the news in the first place was really difficult to begin with. Edit 2. Just another point to clarify, I'm not a saint, but my brother does mean a heck of a lot to me. It's exactly why his wife and I cleared the air between us before, because I wouldn't deliberately make his life hell by pissing her off. Hence why, when I saw that she was upset, I approached her, and when she told me I could have just Skyped and responded with, I wanted to tell them in person since they are my family, and they would probably want to be there with me when I broke the news. I never once implied that she wasn't part of it. My brother and parents know this. And now for the top of comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole, you called the meeting for your news. Also, if sharing it in person was unimportant, then why couldn't your sister-in-law share the pregnancy news over Skype? Her own reasoning should have been good enough for her, and good luck with your treatment. Not the a-hole, I was so ready to call you the a-hole from the title alone. But you arranged this meeting to break the news of something very serious, and your brother decided that it was time to break the news as well. Could you have handled this better? Well, yes, you could have asked him privately what his news was when he said that he had something to announce so that it didn't get awkward like this. But regardless, the blame does not fall on you at all. But the fact is that cancer is, like, a bit more of an important thing to announce than a pregnancy, and the sister-in-law made a huge misstep getting jealous and saying what she did Skype. Really? She's definitely the asshole here. There are things more important than a pregnancy, especially because a pregnancy has a lot more of a time frame to announce than a disease that you're going to need to get some pretty obvious treatment for. Also, I wish you a good recovery. Especially because a pregnancy has a lot more time frame to announce than a disease you're going to need to get some pretty obvious treatment for. Seriously, and she's 4 months along. If the sister-in-law believes Skype is an acceptable medium to share a cancer diagnosis, then it's also an acceptable way to share a pregnancy, which she had weeks to do before this family meeting. I know your brother asked permission, and I'm sure his wife was dead set on making this announcement, but you don't get to act butthurt when you hijack someone else's family meeting. Your brother and his wife could have also called a meeting for their news and should have. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You're the one who called the family gathering. They hijacked your gathering to share their news first. She doesn't get to be angry with you. She could have waited another month or so. She also could have said something sooner. If anything, bro and wife should have felt so bad about telling their news after hearing OPs. I mean, they did ask first and asked to go first, so they aren't to blame. But if I was in a similar situation, and then my sister came out with her devastating news, I'd feel so shitty for telling such happy news. When is she going through something so terrible? How selfish can one person be? This isn't I stole your thunder. This is a tragic medical diagnosis. How dare sister-in-law make it about her? Not the a-hole OP, and I feel sorry for your brother. His wife is an unselfish, uncaring, inconsiderate witch. Now for the update. Sorry this is so late. A lot has been happening in the past month since the news came out, and since I've received a tremendous amount of love from Reddit, I thought it would be only fair to let you all know what had happened. First and foremost, I've started treatment, also one of the reasons I couldn't update sooner. Thank you all for your well wishes. I plan on bouncing back as soon as I can. Anyway, I could see that my brother was under a lot of stress, and I finally sat him down to talk about it properly. He showed me a bunch of his texts that his wife sent him telling him he is a shitty father for choosing me over his family. She said I was seeking attention and nobody cares about her. And one thing that really got to me was that she told him to choose once and for all, and if he picks me, he loses her and his child, and if he picks her, she doesn't want me in their lives at all. I felt terrible, not only for him, but knowing that I could have prevented all this. I took the time to apologize for putting him in this position, and if I had just pulled him aside soon enough and given him a heads up, he would have truly understood. Brother tells me I shouldn't apologize because he should have been more considerate. He also mentioned that his wife still would have gotten mad at him whether they did or didn't give the news on that day. So I decided I should invite her over for coffee to sort everything out. I spoke to her alone. I asked her about everything. She was very cold and distant and didn't really answer, so I started talking first by apologizing if I made her feel excluded from the family or that her pregnancy was of any less importance. I explained that I should have given them a heads up so we could have avoided what had happened altogether and that was my fault, and that I was very sorry, but I also mentioned that the way that she reacted and went to the extent of lying wasn't okay. She then started crying and vented about how angry she's been, that my brother always puts me first, and recently they've been going through a rough patch, and when he sided with me, it made her feel even more upset and felt even more lonely. She admitted she lied to my parents and my brother, saying that she was hoping they would show her some more sympathy, and when they were cold to her, she got even more upset. After hours of talking, she apologized for how she acted and has been acting, and she would like if we moved on from this. My brother came over later and they both went home. He texted me saying that they both spoke for hours and agreed to couples therapy. My parents are currently living with me and helping me out tremendously, but they are not quite happy with my sister-in-law yet. Although they promised to try to work things out, things finally seem to calm down, and let's hope it stays that way. None of this would have been possible without the feedback you all gave me, and I'm indebted to that, so thank you. ETA, all of you are so kind. Honestly, I wanted to clarify that I'm no saint nor am I selfless. I know what happened wasn't entirely on me. However, in order to focus solely on my recovery, I can't be stressed out about this whole situation and have all this tension around. Seeing my brother being put in that position and my sister-in-law, as hurtful as she was, being upset and holding hatred can affect herself and the baby. I did what I could to fix things so that everyone can focus on being healthy and being positive without holding any grudges. I know I sure will. I know my sister-in-law, she can be very stubborn and unreasonable, and if I left things in her hands, I'm 99% sure it would have resulted in much worse circumstances than me putting the first hand forward. At least now I can focus on my recovery without the distress or toxicity. I'm human. I felt angry. I felt upset. Yeah, I wanted to give her a piece of my mind, but in doing so isn't helping myself, her, my brother, or my family, only damaging things further. This realization is what prompted me to let it all go and focus on positivity and my mental and physical health. Last edit. I spent all day on Reddit reading every little or big comment made, and honestly, I didn't know you could feel so much support from people you never met. You are all amazing humans. Thank you all for the upvotes, comments, and awards, and I'll read every single comment, but this will be my final edit. And for the people who asked, I am 24. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.